The U.S. believes Russian officials have begun training on drones in Iran over the last several weeks, the latest sign that Russia intends to purchase the systems as the war in Ukraine continues. During the last several weeks, Russian officials conducted training in Iran as part of the agreement for UAV transfers from Iran to Russia, U.S. officials told CNN. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said last month that Russia had no comments on the matter when asked by reporters about the drones. The drones are capable of carrying precision-guided missiles. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said in July that the U.S. believes Iran intends to sell Russia hundreds of drones that Russia can use in its war in Ukraine. Meir Javan-Dafar, an Iran lecturer at Reichman University, joins us now live. Thank you very much for being with us. So let me just ask you, first of all, Jake Sullivan says hundreds of drones will be sold, perhaps, from Iran to Russia. Does Iran have the capacity to produce hundreds of drones, and what are their quality?
Actually, Ariel, that's an excellent question. The Iranians, unlike the Russians, have developed an indigenous UAV making capability. The Russians, as soon as the sanctions were imposed, they do have some drones, but they could not produce any more of them because they were dependent on imports from so many other countries that, because of sanctions, they couldn't continue. But the Iranians, over the years, have managed to make the industry more indigenous. Although they're still dependent on some components, they seem to have managed to continue producing the UAV with internal capabilities despite sanctions, and I repeat, despite sanctions. So there are two possibilities here. One is that Iran, fresh off the production line, gives the Russians 200 UAVs. At current difficult circumstances with the sanctions, that argument may be more difficult to believe, although it is possible. But we have to remember, the second option is that Iran has storerooms. It has UAVs, hundreds, if not thousands, that it has given to the Hezbollah. It has given to the Houthis in Yemen. We see them striking at Saudi facilities. We see them striking even as far as Dubai. And Iran also has in store many UAVs. So Iran has the capability to take out 200 UAVs, at least from its stores, maybe in Iran, maybe elsewhere in the region from its allies, and to transfer them to the Russians. It could do this at this moment.
So you mentioned allies. How probable is it that these drones are actually Chinese drones or Turkish drones that, due to sanctions, are actually just making the way to Russia through Iran?
No, these are Iranian drones. Look, the Iranian regime is terrible at managing the economy. Iranian cars are death traps. Because the Iranian regime doesn't encourage investment, doesn't invest in these technologies in these areas. But when the Iranian regime, just like anybody else, decides to invest in something in terms of financial resources, in terms of manpower, then it's successful. And the drone technology, drone industry is one area where Ayatollah Khamenei has decided to focus on, to invest Iranian manpower, to Iranian financial resources. And Iranian drones have been noted to be quite good. They're certainly better than what the Russians have. The Russians right now are facing a deadly threat of the combination of, number one, the reconnaissance drones given to the Ukrainians who spot Russian targets, and then they send messages to the second deadly element of this combination, which is the HIMARS missile system. As soon as the HIMARS missile system receives intelligence of where the Russian targets are, then they use their very accurate GPS-guided missiles to destroy the Russians. This is something that the Russians can't ignore.
Meir, last, before we part, because we only have 30 seconds left, are these the kind of drones that we also saw Hezbollah using recently at the border with Israel?
These are the Hezbollah missiles, drones, I understand, are reconnaissance. These are armed drones. Iran also has kamikaze drones.
Okay. Meir Javan-Dafar, thank you very much for being with us.